everybody. Yes, today I'll be explaining a little bit about our latest report on the fuel cell industry, which is available if you want to pick up a copy at our booth through in the other hall in Ebeck. It's booth D40. So I'll explain a little bit about who we are. We've been going for just over 11 years now, really, and we're fully funded by UK chemical company Johnson Matthey, and we have 3 full-time members of staff performing our analysis. So we conduct global analysis of the fuel cells and related hydrogen industries, and this includes all of the 6 main commercial types of fuel cells. And through the support we get from Johnson Matthey, we're allowed to provide our analysis available for free through the website. So the industry review that I'll be talking to you about today, as I said, is a sort of an analysis of the global industry, and it splits it in a number of different ways. So we look at the number of fuel cells that are shipped, and then we also look at the size of those fuel cells, because together that gives you a more accurate picture as to the types of application that these fuel cells are being used in. We also look at where the fuel cells are going regionally, because different incentives available in different countries are helping fuel cells to be installed in different places around the world. And we do touch on the different technology types as well, which I'll explain a bit about later. So before we talk about this slide, if you don't know what a fuel cell is, think about it as a generator with no moving parts. So basically it's a device that allows you to put a fuel in one end, which can be gaseous, such as natural gas, hydrogen, or it can be a liquid fuel, such as methanol, and then you get electricity and heat out of the other end. So in 2011, we saw a nearly 40% growth in shipments versus 2010. And with developments in some of the portable sectors, we're expecting a very significant increase for the full year of 2012. You can see there just over doubling in terms of shipments. So we'll break that down a little bit, and you can see that along the bottom of the chart, along here, there's sort of a steady progress, steady increase in shipments of what we call APU, which is auxiliary power units. I'll show you some photos of those in a minute, but the large increase we're expecting in 2012 is due to the introduction onto the market of a number of portable electronics chargers, which you can see here. And actually, if you come to our booth, we have one of these devices, which we can demonstrate for you as well. So other markets where portable fuel cells are used, the auxiliary power unit is shown here, sort of an example in the middle, and also there's some interest in installing them onto heavy-duty trucks, because there's new legislation coming in that prevents trucks from idling overnight to provide the lighting, heating and power for the drivers. But there are other markets. The military are interested in portable fuel cells, and you can also see a fuel cell from a company, Truma, here, and they're looking at off-grid markets for signage, for roadworks, or other sort of non-grid connected applications, rail networks, etc. And eventually you may see fuel cells, if they can be miniaturized enough, going inside portable electronics. But people are patenting that at the moment, and we'll may see that in a few years. So back to the shipment numbers, there's also a fairly significant contribution from stationary fuel cells, and this has been led by shipments of micro CHP systems going into homes in Japan in the main. So there's an example of one of these here. Stands about as tall as I am, the taller unit, and provides hot water and electricity for homes. So there's one with an example, Japanese lady sat next to it, but you've got also examples here from a Korean company and from a number of German companies. So there are a lot of countries interested in this technology as a more efficient way of generating power for our homes. Finally, there's a contribution from transport, and that's mainly led by battery replacements for forklift trucks. So if we split the system numbers a different way, we're looking at, on the left-hand side, the region of adoption, and you can see that the main countries where fuel cells are being shipped at the moment, the regions are North America, Asia, and Europe. What's interesting is actually we're starting to see the emergence of the rest of the world as a contributor to that chart. And the same thing on the right-hand side, looking at technology, it's historically been dominated by PEM fuel cells, which are the low temperature platinum-containing fuel cells you'll find in vehicles. But more and more we're seeing contributions from solid oxide units, which are being used in a small amount for the residential CHP and also for larger prime power units. So if we convert now and look at the sort of total megawatts that's generated by those shipment numbers, you can see that the growth is different because obviously the size of the respective fuel cells varies. But we are expecting, we saw the total megawatts exceed 100 megawatts for the first time last year, and we're expecting further growth of more than 60%. And you can see there that the portable numbers have virtually no impact because they are very, very small units, generally sub-watt, whereas the stationary units can be hundreds of kilowatts, so they have a much more significant contribution to this figure. So here we see the contribution from the large stationary systems which have been adopted particularly in the US and South Korea, and you can see some examples there. They're generally containerized units, and you can, because the technology is scalable, modular, you can install any number of these, and we're seeing the Koreans putting down car parks full of them, generating hundreds of megawatts. So here's an example of that. You can see some artist renditions of what some of the new installations that have been agreed will look like, and as I said, you can see that you just put as many of the units down as you like, and then you can generate as much power as you want. The Koreans have what they call their renewable portfolio standard, which currently mandates 2% of new and renewable energy contribution to their energy mix, and will increase up to 10% by 2022. And out of all the new and renewable energies included, fuel cells get the highest weighting over and above wind and solar. So this is a technology that they are pushing very hard. So back to that megawatts number, you see the other contributed areas from transport, and at the moment that's made up predominantly of forklifts, vehicles, light-duty vehicles and buses. And because of the nature of the projects, the demonstration projects for buses and for light-duty vehicles, they're not truly commercial markets yet, so you see a sort of a fluctuating contribution, and we're hoping as time moves on and the industry becomes more established, that number will stabilise and grow going forward. So here are some examples of that. Up in the top left you can see a forklift truck there with a hydrogen filling station in a large warehouse, and the technology is cost competitive in this market now, and it's safe enough for you to put the filling stations indoors. You can also see a Hyundai fuel cell vehicle down there in the bottom right, and also fuel cell scooters. So splitting that by region, you can see that Asia is the dominant contributor, and this is because of their uptake of the micro CHP systems in Japan, and also the large stationary systems going into countries like Korea. North America also makes up virtually the rest of the number, and again that's dominated by the stationary sector. By technology, historically it's all been dominated by PEM, but now we're seeing more and more molten carbonate and solid oxide fuel cells, which I think you'll hear a bit more about solid oxide from one of the later talks from Paddy. And this is, as I said, due to their increasing percentage contribution to micro CHP and their dominant use in the large stationary sectors. So if we look out to the next few years, what sort of things can we expect? Well, I mean, we do expect the numbers to continue to increase now. The industry is commercial in a number of sectors. The fuel cells are selling without subsidies into technology applications such as telecommunications backup power, and this is a market that's growing exponentially around the world, with mobile networks going in countries like India, Indonesia, China, and they're looking at fuel cell technology as the way forward in this sector. The penetration of the new portable fuel cell chargers will be an important factor because that's a very consumer-facing product. So most fuel cell products are sold to industries, to businesses, and you and I may not actually see the benefit, but they are there working for us. But you can actually get hold of these portable chargers now. They'll soon be available on Amazon and other websites like that. So this could be key to a large increase in the future. The further uptake of micro CHP, it's been very successful in Japan and in other countries such as some Scandinavian countries and Korea are interested in this technology. But the problem with rolling it out in other countries is the electrical load, the hot water and heating load in different countries varies. So you can't just take one technology and slot it straight in. So you need to do a little bit of work to optimize the technology. And there's been a recent project launched in Europe called Enfield, which is looking to do that for European countries. And if we look to the shipments and what we see the outlook again we're expecting to see that increase. And in main, that will be due to increases, it will be limited by increases in production capacity. But certain fuel cell companies say that when they get their capacity up to certain levels, that's when they become profitable. So that's their target, is to increase that. And you can see the range of sectors there where we're expecting significant contributions. So my light's gone red, so I'll stop now. But if you swing by our booth, you can see and pick up two of our latest reports. One is the review I've just spoken about, and the second one is a shorter report about fuel cell vehicles, if you're interested in that. And it just gives an update on where the OEMs are and their targets that they're looking to commercialise the vehicles in the next sort of 2 to 3 years. Thank you very much.